Good evening, Final Fantasy Randomizer. This is the last bonus run for the Summer Rando Marathon 2025. This one is no longer live. It is, well, no, not live. It's not in person anymore. We already did that. We had all the fun with it. Other people did. I stayed home. And we have up on deck is Bloodstained, being ran by. I can literally not see what's on top of my screen here. Axe Remain and commented by Tony. I'm going to step away. Everyone, have fun.
Hello, I'm Axel Ryman. I'm the runner for this game, and pleasure to be here for my first time with Final Fantasy Randomizer.
And hey everyone, it's Tony Ortiz. You may have seen me run this game last week. Axel here is going to run another Max Chaos for us, which I and some other people generously donated to see. He is one of the best players we have, so please enjoy this run and how much better it's going to be than mine.
Yep. So this is a max chaos seed since we met the donation incentive. This means that everything is randomized from items, quests. Our goal will always be defeat all evil, regardless of whether we're doing same type shuffle or if we're doing max chaos. Key items can be anywhere. Shops will be shuffled. Enemy drops are going to be chaotic. Crafting and save warp rooms are going to be mixed as well. There's the seed number if you want to try this seed out yourself. Tony, want to give me a countdown?
Sure. Do we have a timer here? Okay. All right. And in 3, 2, 1, Bloodstained. All right, Axel's off here. We're going to quickly equip some items here. This is some free DLC equipment that comes with the game now that you can buy. It's free, and it's really handy in Max Chaos because there's no guarantee of a weapon chest being anywhere on the ship. So this is going to make sure that we can actually defeat the boss that's at the end without having to do 1 damage every or 2 damage every fist and foot attack from Miriam. Very nice use of the DLC shard there as well to snipe out that Alio. One thing you're going to see a lot in Max Chaos is a lot of enemies are going to get killed because we just want all the shard drops. They're all random and they're all shuffled together. So our main category, you would just bother killing purple dropping enemies, but in this category, since anyone can have anything, you're going to want to try to just get all these free kills in, maybe get lucky, spike a good shard. And, you know, we all have different play styles as well. So Axel may abandon some, he may stop and farm some. It really depends on what he has and, you know, like what rooms are available that have quick reset abilities so you can continue to farm enemies after they spawn over and over. Just to explain the movement he's doing here, this is called backdash canceling. It's basically the exact same as in Castlevania Symphony of the Night, except instead of a shield, we use crouching to cancel, and then hit the backdash button again, and this is way faster than walking forward. There's a couple other movement techniques that we may be able to showcase depending on what is available. Some of them are unlocked by items, some of them are unlocked by shards. We'll talk about any of those if and when we find them. But basically here, oh, a nice purple. Acid Jet. That's going to be good for bosses. Most bosses in this game are humanoid, and all the humanoids are weak to poison, which that does, including Miriam herself there. But one key thing that you're going to want to pay attention to is like how much MP we have and how much we're going to be able to use it. Poison's really good because it's a low MP cost up front, and then you poison the enemy for a while. It takes damage down periodically, and in this game, for some reason, they decided to make status effects actually really good, so we can utilize them on a lot of enemies. That'll come into play later. You also notice, okay, yeah. You also notice a couple of little slides off ledges there. That's just to fall a little faster. You can also use that to get a little jump after you've actually gone further than the ledge is coated. And we're going to jump over gaps to some of that. You can even slide a little bit further off than, yeah, that's a perfect one there. Like, you can see how far Miriam was off the edge there. And then this ship section is pretty basic. This is where you learn how to play the game. We're going to check every save room as well because those are shuffled and there are warp rooms. That's how we're going to get around the castle quickly, especially if we don't have warp stones, which is the only item that can teleport you in the game. It's basically functionally equivalent to a library card in Castlevania Symphony of the Night. If you've noticed how much I've been talking about Symphony Night, it's because this game and the similar nomenclature of the game is the spiritual successor to that game. It's made by the same designer. He actually started his own studio to make this game. They crowdfunded it, and here it is. But it's not an exact replica. It has a lot of elements from the games that he made after Symphony of the Night. A lot of the Game Boy and DS venues. It's kind of like all of his ideas meshed into one game, which is why we have the shard system, which is basically the same as the soul system, if you're familiar with that. It's why we have all the equipment and the RPG stats, which many of those games have, and why we have a lot of the movement tech and stuff. That opens a little shortcut to the left there in case we need to come back to the boat, which we could. We need 2 items to beat the game. The first one is the Zangetsu Katana. That actually opens up the last area and lets us beat the mid-boss and avoid the bad ending. The second item we need is a shard. It's a purple shard called Dimension Shift. You'll notice it because Miriam yells out the attack of anime for some of the shards, and Dimension Shift she yells out quite a bit. But there's a solid wall blocking us off from the final boss, and the only way to get past it in the entire game, outside of some weird clips, is the Dimension Shift shard. So we're going to be looking for that as well. We've got a lot of other stuff to talk about, but here's a boss fight right now, so I'm going to let you guys enjoy this sick combat from Axel here. He's capable of doing a lot of extra swings that people like me and a lot of our other racers would not get in here. Nice. Ooh, and there we go. We start off with a movement ability right away. High jump is a lot like gravity boots. This is going to get you infinite vertical movement and open up a bunch of sections of the castle. Not all of them, because there are small gaps we need to get through, and we need certain shards to do that as well. It also doesn't let us swim, but everywhere else that's accessible by vertical movement is now open. So Axel has pretty much free reign on where to go. Can go right up into DCC from the beginning. Can continue the normal route, go and fight Zangetsu 1. Lots of options. Gonna check out the quests here. Okay, crown, that's not really useful.
In fact, that's actually from the Kingdom 2 Crowns DLC, if I remember correctly, which was a part of a free update.
Yeah, and there's a bunch of cool little joke items in here. There's like some spoofy Mega Man style items that are you're going to see sometimes in Max because all of the items here are shuffled, but also their ingredients are shuffled. You can see the ingredients on the right side there. That makes it very unique to play Max because usually we're going to hang on to a lot of items that we typically sell in the regular flags that we play because we're looking for one piece of equipment in particular, which basically gives us infinite MP and overloads our damage to the maximum. It could be something that we break another item into, or we could find it as a crafting recipe, and then we need some weird items to forge it. So typically we're going to hang on to all of our equipment and potions and stuff that break into random things until we either find that item somewhere out in the castle, because it is in a treasure chest somewhere, or we craft it and then we'll sell stuff. We can usually get away with selling certain items or extra copies, though, in case there's something nice to buy in the shop here. A couple movement swords, but those are very MP heavy. Not a lot of great crafting materials. Normally those crafting materials would be more valuable in the other set of flags where the results of the crafting are randomized, but the materials are not. So you can forge something new with your bronze and your iron and so on. And we're going to pick up some food here. Food is really unique in this game. It doesn't just heal you or give you your MP back. The first time you eat any specific food item that's unique, you get a stat bonus, which is reflected in the blue stats there on the stat screen. If we open up the menu sometime in the future, you'll see some of those. It'll keep a cumulative total of all the bonuses we have. So some food we get, especially early in the game, we're going to want to eat right away if it's MP regen or something like that. Quick little run back to the ship here to check these item locations that are locked by vertical movement. There's a little secret chest up here. Very nice. And then there's another room to the left that Axel's going to go to. I'll explain real quick the chests as well. There's different colors of chests. Green chests have some kind of equipment in them, or they could actually also have like a substitute food item. But typically, it's going to be your weapons. It's going to be your accessories, your armor, your helmets, and all that. Normally, in the normal set of flags, even though they're all green, we know which chests have which type of item, and those items are only shuffled amongst themselves. So swords are only shuffled with other weapons, and armor's only shuffled with other armor, and so on. We don't know in this format, so we really just have to open every green chest and check and see what it is. So we'll end up finding a lot of weird recipes. We'll find some other items that may be useful later to break down, but we have to check them all because we're looking for that Zangetsu toe sword, and we're also looking for those Jeebel's glasses, which are in a chest. The red chests have money. The blue chests have either crafting materials or some food or some other items that are consumable. Brown chests will always have kind of like a potion in them. And sometimes you'll see the green chest overwrite a non-green chest in the STS mode, and we won't talk about that. It's just another way to soft lock the game. But just know that if you do see like normally a blue chest that's a green chest, that is part of the game. We're not going to notice it in this run because everything shuffles everything. All right, one more little broken wall check over here. Very nice. Okay, fish is good. That's a really good food item that boosts intelligence. We're going to definitely use that either to heal at some point or just raise our intelligence, because intelligence is how you do more magic damage, and that's going to be our biggest form of damage in the game. Okay, quick little backtrack here to the beginning. We now don't have to come back to the boat at all for anything. We've checked everything here, which is nice.
I'm going to come back for the Dollar Hammer because I don't have the shard, and so I picked up the quest for the first enemy, the Mort, and we need to complete this to get access to the remaining quests. And one of the first quests afterwards is to kill 3 Dollar Hammers, which could have something useful.
Yeah, normally it would be a food item if we were on same type shuffle, which could be really lucky and turn into an MP regenerating item. But it's going to be all random in Max Chaos. There's a couple things that aren't shuffled just because the game is not capable. The food crafting recipes are not shuffled no matter what you do. And the game built in does not have a way to shuffle the crafting exclusive items into treasure chests that are existing in the game. So it kind of gives us a little bit of normality that we know that X, Y, and Z are always going to be available in chests somewhere in the castle. And we also know we won't be able to find X, Y, and Z out and about. We'll have to break something or craft it. There is a PC randomizer that is capable of this, but since we have so many players that play on consoles, and the game runs pretty well on certain consoles, that we don't want to exclude anyone. We want as many people playing as possible, so we just make do with the built-in randomizer. And high jump is really nice to have early. Any kind of movement is nice to have early because you get to do all these checks without having to, backtrack and do them later if you're looking for the sword. Okay, yeah, and first major route divergence coming up in a second here. Axel's good enough to equip the Risk Ring, and if you're wondering what that does, it means you take a lot of extra damage, but you get some really good stat boosts. There's the Graham Sword. If we get infinite MP at some point, we'll be able to use that to dash around horizontally. There's a few weapons in the game that have this Street Fighter type attack that dashes you forward. There's a few other route divergence here. This is only capable with invert and high jump. So you could do the normal route, which is to go right there. Or you could come up here, blue shard, and it's a useless one. I'll talk about the shards in a minute. But yeah, this is an interesting path. I actually took the same path when I played this. I was curious to see what you were going to do. So here we are in the third area of the castle. That's post the little village area as opposed to the normal intended route. But first, I want to since you equipped the greatsword, just want to talk about the different weapon types real quick. There's all sorts of different weapon types. You can see there that blade's the short sword. There's a greatsword with a big overhead swing that hits, a much bigger hitbox in both behind and in front of Miriam there. There's clubs that are basically the same as swords. There's whips that have a little bit of slower swing, but they, have a bigger hitbox. There's spears, and I think there's one other thing that I'm forgetting, but they all have different properties. They all have different speeds, recovery, and all that. But what's cool about Bloodstained is you notice the backdashing and the jump attacking and all that. Mostly everything in the game that you do is cancelable by something else. Not everything else, but a specific action. So if you can backdash, jump, slash, slide, duck, and double jump and do all those things, you can actually fit a lot of actions in between and cancel other actions with themselves. So the skill ceiling on this game is really, really high. And it definitely helps make up for the RNG casino that we usually go through when we play one of these randomizer runs. Because we're not only randomizing where stuff is, but the soul system means that every shard in the game outside of a select few 100% drop rates have somewhere between a 3 and 10% drop rate. And only like 1 or 2 enemies have 10%. Everything else is like a 3 to 5%, which is pretty low. So the luck stack can make that a little bit better, but if you want to get better at this game, it's a little bit of a grind, but it's definitely pays off, and you'll see it. Axel getting a lot more melee attacks in than I would. Being able to cancel a little bit better, squeeze those melee attacks in, and if you watch even the best players, especially like Capra, the world record holder, when he does melee combat, it's literally like watching a blur. Swings in everywhere, backdashing, jumping, and all that. Okay, so now that we've got just a basically little cleanup section here, we're going to check chests, we're going to kill enemies, hope for shard drops. I'll talk about the different shards that are in the game. They're all designated by color. The first group we'll talk about is the most important. That's the white shards. That's the high jump, the category the high jump shard is that Axel got off the boat there. These are all movement abilities except for one ability called Shortcut, which is like a quality of life equipment, like management thing. And it lets you kind of like save in a set of equipment and then like switch to it on the fly. The other ones are double jump, which does exactly what you think it does. Oh, AMR, that's a decent melee weapon. There's high jump, which we've already seen in action. There's invert. Oh, and shortcut. Shortcut's actually good. You can use it for a bunch of glitches. We don't do any of that in the randomizer, but if you want to watch like an 90% speed run, you'll see how abusable shortcut is. We have invert, which actually turns Miriam in the castle upside down. Some things are affected by the inverted gravity, and some are not, which is pretty cool, but it also lets you get into a lot of areas you couldn't get to without other shards, even with the other movement, because there are small gaps that you have to slide through, and sometimes they're like, you need to turn them upside down in order to slide through them correctly. Then last we have the Deep Sinker shard, which lets you sink in water, because, so, you know, I guess vampire or vampire adjacent characters always float in water or whatever. One special note, though, is invert, with the way it works, does not make water fall to the floor if you flip the castle upside down. So if you use invert underwater, you normally can hit the jump button to kind of shimmy upwards as you would be floating. And if we turn the castle upside down, we can actually swim upwards through the water. So that actually unlocks underwater areas as well. We've got yellow shards, which are pretty easy to explain. They're just passive shards. You get to equip one, you get a passive bonus. There's green shards, which give you a little pet companion that floats around. Very similar to the other Castlevania and Metroidvania style games that have pets in them. We have red shards, which are very basic. Just, you know, you cast the spell for X amount of mana, push this button. We have purple shards, which are basically the same, except you could aim them in 360 degrees. Whenever you see Miriam's arm out, that's Axel aiming. Some of these shards also have a per MP cost instead of a flat MP cost, and this is very abusable because the game only charges you the amount of frames that you have the button held down for. So if something has a cost of 50 MP per second, but you only have the button held down for 3 or 4 frames, you pay only 3 out of 60% that cost. So if you get a really good damaging shard that does high damage or like does frequent damage ticks, like there's a low cooldown before it can hit an enemy again, you can really abuse and spam the damage without having MP as like the barrier to do a bunch of that damage. So there are very specific shards we're going to look for and switch to immediately if we find them, but most of them are purple. And then lastly, we have blue shards. I call them the game changer shards. It's because there's 9 of them, 3 or 4 of them are super powerful and super unique, and the rest of them are kind of like basic and don't do a whole lot. So we'll see some of them probably. We've already seen a couple. None of them that are all that useful, especially without infinite MP so far. And we've got probably our first boss, if you're going to kill Kraftwerk. Yeah. And Kraftwerk's an interesting boss. It's one of the cooler looking bosses in the game. We often, unfortunately, don't get to see what he's doing because if you play with uncapped frame rate, it kind of breaks his AI scripts. So if you kind of just stand at this range right here, he just spins back and forth. His script just kind of, I don't know what it does exactly, keeps restarting. And you never get to see any of his attacks. So that's Kraftwerk. See you later, buddy. Okay, a couple chests here. There's a couple green pillars and a couple white pillars. Normally, if you'd be playing the game vanilla, those white pillars would have the shortcut shard in them, and there's 6 of them. Or there's 4 of them? 6 of them? Can't remember. And that's how many slots you'd have of the shortcut to use. The green ones are all the same pet, but you can get power-ups to your shards in 2 different ways. You can actually get multiple copies of it in your inventory, up to 9. And you can also spend crafting materials at the shop to enhance them if you have the right materials. So there's some cool things you can do, and you often will find more materials in MaxCast to upgrade shards than you would in STS, but we'll see what happens on that front. And just checking for teleport rooms here, just to see if there's an easy way to get around the castle again without buyable waystones in the shop. Even if we find some waystones, we're going to probably want to save them for the big dead end parts of the game. And being able to find the green rooms on the map on the top right there lets us come back and backtrack easier to castle areas where we need to farm these shards. Hey! Okay, so double jump's pretty cool. It doesn't just give you a double jump, it also gives you a dive kick. You can angle that dive kick diagonally, or you can angle it straight down. It's much faster than just falling through the air. And if you're really good with movement, like Axel is, you can actually use the dive kick as your normal forward movement. Jumping, dive kicking, and then canceling out of the animation, where Miriam would normally animate like a crouch from a long fall, lets you just like go as fast as you can go without. I think accelerator is the only thing that's faster. But the execution is pretty tight here. If you have a movement accessory, sometimes you'll want to stick with that, like Moonbelt or something that makes the backdash super fast. But you can always use this with other accessories. That's what's cool about White Shards. You can incorporate their movement into whatever else you have. Okay, a couple chests here we got to check. And now there's another decision to make, which is to go down into the middle of Garden here, or to go up further into DCC and towards the Hall of Termination, where our mini-boss friend is. We can't kill him without the Zangetsu Toe sword we're looking for, but we can go up there and farm stuff, look for teleport room, you know, all sorts of options here. That's the nice thing about having the white shards early, or some of the movement shards of the other colors, is it's really all about routing. So basically, whoever decides the correct route would probably win this if it was a race. And I'm not going to tell you my time until the end. Oh, blue? Oh, that's another useless one, unfortunately. So if we do see a blue drop that's accelerator, that shard basically turns us into the Flash. You may have seen me use it in my runs. And basically you just hold down the blue shard button, and for a little bit of MP every second or so, you basically run at like 5 times speed or something like that without upgrading it. Even faster. This is Zangetsu Toe. He's the first boss. In English, he's voiced by David Hayter, so if you play the game in English, you'll recognize your favorite voice actor. Pretty big, nice teleport room. Gonna go back to the town here. You'll see a lot of people who start the game off get to Zangetsu and really be frustrated. The game doesn't give you a whole lot to deal with him in vanilla, and if you don't really understand Metroidvanias and how to exploit enemies, you'll get bodied by him pretty easy. But if I could give anybody a tip for starting out when you get to Zangetsu for the first time, just try to stay behind him. Whenever he's looking at you, jump over him, and just sit behind him. And as soon as he turns back around to face you, jump back over him. You'll have a lot better of a chance than trying to fight him heads up. All right. Okay, so we have a halite there. That could let us craft some food. I'm gonna sell some crafting materials here. Buy some food. We're about to kind of like foray in the areas of the castle where the enemy difficulty is going to scale up pretty exponentially, so having healing's never bad. Cutpurse Swing has luck on it, if you're a luck believer. There's a lot of people in our community that don't really believe in the luck stat, and they're not actually wrong. We've looked into it. Some people have run some simulations. We figured out that luck actually does work. It helps your drop rate, helps your crit rate. It just doesn't help as much as you would think an RPG stat does. So there's some believers in it. There's some people that don't believe in it. It's kind of a toss-up depending on what gear you have. If you've got nothing better to equip, then you should definitely equip it. But if you have int gear, ooh, throw a spear, that's nice. That's a good red shard, one of the 5 best red shards probably in the game. Has a good range, does a bunch of damage, hits 3 times. But like all red shards, it's very expensive. All right. And just in case you're overwhelmed by like trying to remember what's dropped what and all that, the game does have a built-in menu that lets you keep track of every enemy that you've encountered, what shard it's dropped if you've gotten it to drop, and the items that it drops if you've seen that item drop. And one other thing about the randomization of the item drops in this game is that it does not randomize what items drop on each enemy individually. Each enemy has a drop pool that can consist of 1 to 4 items or nothing. What the game does is it keeps those groups intact, and then it shuffles the groups around between the enemies that could drop. So what we will do is often see something drop that we know belongs to a certain group of items, know what drop pool that is, and then farm that enemy if it's something that we really want. There's an item called Alkahest, which is like just a regular crafting material, but what it does is it actually lets us break those items down in the dismantle menu. You need X amount of Alkahest to dismantle an item. Usually it's a random value. In the game, I believe everything has the vanilla game, everything has a set value. So we'll be looking out for oak, we'll be looking out for ectoplasm, and we'll be looking out for one other thing that I'm blanking on, but I'll remember if I see it, and we'll know that those enemies drop potentially the alkahest that we might want to check out if we see the glasses in the crafting menus. It's not really worth farming if you don't know for sure glasses is there, especially since there's so much to farm in the max set of flags. But we could also find glasses in the castle. They are in a green chest in the vanilla game. They're just in the last possible green chest you can find in the vanilla game. So as long as they don't unrandomize themselves and are in that same chest, in theory we will find them somewhere in the castle item checks if we have to. We don't need them to beat the game. They're just like the easiest path of least resistance, because they make any shard in the game way better just because you can spam it. This is a little area you don't see very often in our regular set of flags because there's no accessory up here, but there are some item checks, and this is a decent spot to farm these two enemies. Also, Bloodbringer in the back there is not bad in this spot. He's also not bad in the Citadel area. Ugh. My most hated enemy right there, Cytheria. Didn't even have a good shard for you either. Yeah, she can curse you.
This has been happening lately. Like my practices lately, I get a ton of blues, but it's never accelerator.
Yeah, that's pretty much everybody. I do have an MC with accelerator as the very first guarantee drop on Cannonmore that I'm going to save for forever. So I'll share that with the community soon. We might have to break it out if you beat this too fast, though.
I don't know. It doesn't look it.
Yeah, make a really good time, though. I mean, with all this covered, drops have been pretty good. Like, you haven't had to, rapid, farm 30 to 40 plus kills of anything yet. So, it's going to be all about if that casino luck holds, and then how many item locations can be checked across the entire castle. You did get double jump earlier than I did. I didn't find double jump until way later, so you're already cruising compared to when I played this.
I'm gonna farm this.
Yeah, this is one of the better farms for Sabnock. It's better if you have a beam, but Throw Spear works pretty good. The only problem with Throw Spear is it costs way more MP than a beam would. So we can... Miriam does passively regenerate MP. You can eat food as well to give her a little bit of extra MP regen. We got a drop there. But you can always use your magic, farm something until you run out of magic, and then just run back in the room, melee it a bunch while you're regenning MP, and continue your farming if you, you're in an area with maybe one or two enemies left, and you don't want to come back. That's what we're really looking to do, especially at Max Chaos here, is we're looking to complete sections so we don't have to backtrack, especially if they do not have a green teleport room in them. Here's that enemy list, so you can kind of see what shards are on every enemy here. You can kind of get an idea of, okay, yep, I don't have these 3 enemies in this area, I'm going to go there. Some enemies are in multiple areas. And this is also probably a good time to mention that there are 2 enemies in the game that are not bosses that also do not have a drop. And those are shuffled into the pool. So sometimes you'll start killing an enemy 3 or 4 or 5 times and go, wait a minute, let me just check the menu real quick to see if he has, or she, or it, or whatever it is, has no, shard drop. Because there are 2 enemies that are going to get randomly rolled into no drops. Okay. Oh, Iron Maiden. Okay, so we can actually, there's a couple ways to get past this. The main one is Craftworks Blue Shard, which you drop some vanilla. We don't have that. We can bait / kick a enemy into that to get it to collapse like that. Unfortunately, just the blue chest. And there's another way to glitch through it with a red shard called Gale Crawler, which is pretty interesting. You just kind of use it while you're standing right next to the thing, and then I guess it spits you out the other side. I can't even remember how it works. But it's interesting to get past that Iron Maiden that gates a whole section of the castle up in the top left that's an endgame area, if that's the only way in.
For the Gale Crawler thing, it mostly just closes the door so you can push it.
Yeah, so, okay, that's what it is, yeah. So you do the Gale Crawler thing, and then it closes the door as if, that enemy was pushed into it, just like we did there. I was like, I can't remember, I haven't seen anybody do it in a long time. There's a couple of really easy glitches we can do that are not like banned, quote unquote, or anything in the randomizer. So there's just to make things easier. Hey, there's no
Speaking of game crawler.
There's that same area that I was talking about that you could Gale Crawler glitch into. There's an easy way to get into there with just the invert shard that we don't really discourage anyone from doing because anybody can learn how to do it in about 20 seconds. So a nice little farm here. This is a really good room for Poompama and Toad if you need Toad as well. Oh. Yeah, and then now we're just kind of like, this is the normal intended progression path. You go up to that stained glass area, you get the craftwork shard, you have the little horse guy take you across the gap, and then you keep going this way. So the game really kind of like routes you through each of the areas in the beginning, and then it kind of locks you out of part of them and kind of backtracks you through them later when you have more things that help you traverse them. So it's a very interesting way to approach the game. It's a lot less open in the vanilla game than a normal Metroidvania would be, or like an old school Metroidvania would be. But when you play Randomizer, it all depends on what you find. Sometimes you're on rails, and sometimes, like when you get high jump or invert early, almost everything's open. Okay, so there's an option to go down to the caverns here, but we still can't swim. We can also go to the right and go to the Tower of Twin Dragons, and then also the library, where there's all sorts of cool stuff as well. Okay, resist magic, not a bad yellow. There's a lot better, but that's probably like a B tier yellow shard. There's a lot of stuff in the game that's just de facto magic that you get hit with. And as we pick up that stat up, it might be an easy segue to mention that you can cancel picking up stat ups by pushing the start button. You can also cancel a couple of the beginning cutscenes and beginning nameplates when you're in a new area, but then for some reason that just kind of stops being possible later. Like this one you can't do. You can only do it on the first 2 or 3. But yeah, if you see us ever pause by accident right before we're about to pick up stat up, that's because we hit start a couple frames too early before we pick the stat up. We're just trying to cancel that animation, the fanfare, if you will, as many Metroidvania players call it. So this is an interesting place to farm here. We don't have the item that lets us progress, I believe, yet. Yeah. A little bit of a fetch quest to proceed through this area, but you can come in here and farm these enemies first. Cannon Mort's a weird one. That little purple cannon guy in the middle, he's in a few different places. Lily, however, the blue bunny there, she's only in this area. And Puppy there in the middle, he's in a couple areas, but he also has a counterpart that drops the same shard. There's a few enemies in the game that actually share their shard drop pool, which you just kind of have to learn. But they don't get shuffled different shards in the randomizer, so that means you don't have to worry about like some random enemy having the same shard as some other random enemy. They are tied together at the coding level. All right, so now we come into another 2.5D section. We got a little one in that long bridge area in the very first bit of the castle, but there's not really much to do in that area. Here we actually have combat and all sorts of traversal to do. The 2.5D stuff blocks the usage of some of the movement shards, so like basically the purple ones. So Dimension Shift and Reflector Ray, they just don't work in these sections of the game, probably because they break it or something, so they just disabled them, but all the other movement works here. And you can do some really cool stuff like Axel did there with the jumping up and around the 2.5D map there, which you don't see very often. It's a cool feature. Going to take a quick look through the wall here, see an item on the left side, warping it. Okay.
For now.
Yep, for now. You can always get it on the way back down. And those little item bags laying on the ground, those could also be anything. We just know that they're not a stat up, so we have to check them. The game's not going to generate a chest anywhere where it would not generate a chest graphically, but what it'll do instead is it'll generate those little item bags or stat ups in their place. So that's why sometimes you'll see a chest get opened and then there's a stat up in it, as opposed to there just being a stat up laying around on the ground. Again, I think that's probably a coding thing. I'm not a programmer, but little troll with the voice changer. So yeah, there's all sorts of cosmetic accessories and stuff in the game. So like, Axel's equipped the voice changer accessory on Miriam, which gives her the soprano opera pitch here. There's a lot of the items in the game have animations. You can see the Santa hat on there. And there will be some other things that even will change animations completely. So some of the DLC has some cooler animated shards that are functionally the same as the shards that we have in the game. And they're just for the swag, so if you want to equip them, you know, and look cool, you can. Okay, gonna head on over to the library here. That's a nice little green teleporter. In case we don't find a green teleporter in here, something relatively close is nice because in the library, amongst other things, we have our good buddy OD, the librarian. OD stands for Orlock Dracule, not Overdose. Don't worry, fighting game community members, you're okay, you're safe. And you can borrow books from OD that give you various boosts. There's only 2 or 3 really worth borrowing most of the time, unless you're doing like a challenge run or something. But he also does a couple other things for us, like turns in the item that we need to get into that train area that we were over at before. And he holds a couple of treasure checks if you have the ability to get underneath him and do a little Soten tribute as well. Okay. And as far as the breakable walls go, there's a lot of them. They're everywhere. There is a shard in the game that is called Detective's Eye that will let you like have like an aura that reveals unbreakable stuff. So if you're worried about memorizing where all these stupid breakable walls are, don't worry. In your basic playthrough of the game, you'll eventually find the yellow shard that lets you see them all, and you can revisit everywhere in the castle. And there's some water access with Deep Sinker. Okay, I went in purples. Haven't really gotten a great offensive purple yet. We've got some B tier ones, but not really like an A tier purple. We do have an A tier red. And obligatory Volsha mentioned that little succubus character on the left room there. She's actually the only enemy in the game that will not attack you unless you attack her. In English, she'll say, "How could you?" when you attack her. If you actually stand in the room with her long enough, she'll actually cast a buff on you, which is kind of a cool Easter egg. Okay, so save room. Not ideal, but we do have the teleport room that's not too far away from here. Don't think we have... Yeah, we don't have a way to get through the small gaps yet. And Axel's going to go ahead and pick up the Deadeye Tome. That just is a general power-up for every directional shard, which are the purples. And if you recall, I mentioned the purples are almost always going to be the highest damage we have access to. There's some reds that definitely can exceed, but we definitely need infinite MP, or just like a boatload of MP regen items to be able to take advantage of those. So we're going to go ahead and give Orlac a little roller coaster ride there for his chest, and unfortunately, nothing in it. Got a boss fight to the left here. It's a guaranteed shard drop, so I'm assuming it's going to get done. And there's a treasure chest in there, too.
And it's green. Worth it.
Hey, it could be something good. Or it could be a recipe that we're never going to use. Alright, this is Andre Alphys. Andre likes to, I call Andre Andy. Likes to jump around, shoot arrows at you, and throw roundhouse kicks, but with all the stuff we have already, not really a bother. Also vulnerable to poison. There's only like 2 or 3 bosses in our... Hey, stand still. Okay, so that's a blue... did you get the chest?
Yes, I did. It was MP recovery.
Okay, got it.
I got number 5, which was perfect, actually, but I wish I used more MP.
Yeah. So, real quick about standstill, that will probably come into play at some point, just because, for whatever reason, most bosses are immune to it, but the final boss is not. I think it has something to do with the final boss being on background layers and the way that the thing actually works. But who knows? I'm not a coder again. What it does is it just stops time. It costs a ton of MP. It's very hard to obtain in the vanilla game. You have to basically finish 95% of all of the collectibles, drops, shards, everything, exploration, and so on. And then you go to a very specific room in the last area, and then our buddy Dracule there from the library decides that you've looted enough of the game to be worthy of him testing you. And he's a super boss, and you have to beat him. And that's the shard that he drops for you.
Another interesting thing about him, actually, is in both the English and Japanese voiceovers, he is voiced by the same person who does Alucard in Symphony of the Night.
Yeah, so if you recognize that voice, that's who it is, which is pretty cool. And one last thing about standstill, just be careful when you're using it in a casual playthrough. If you have it out while you obtain a shard on the same frame, you will just hard lock your game and be stuck. 6 patches to the game since live, and they haven't been able to fix that one. So, you see an enemy drop a shard, let go of the button.
I'll be honest, I was, I didn't realize I got that one. I was actually tempted to go save and go show it off, but, yeah, I don't think I want to redo that.
Yeah, I wouldn't either. Okay, so we still have a lot of options here, especially now that we have Deep Sinker. Unfortunately, no way to get in there. A bunch of ways to get in there. We don't have any of the ways to get in that. And check that green chest. Just going to note that for later. There's going to be areas we're going to run through that we can't get the green chest. Like, even if we went underwater right now, there's a couple chests underwater that we couldn't grab. That's because they're behind those little small gaps that we need reflector ray or dimension shift to get through. So we're just going to kind of try to remember where those are. Ooh, there you go. That's probably the best yellow in the game. Sometimes it's going to be augment luck because you need drop still, but augment int just gives you an overall damage boost because, again, most of the damage we're going to do is magic based. So that's just a flat damage boost. Yeah, there's a couple other great yellow shards as well, though. There's Words of Wisdom if you don't have infinite MP. Gives you a chance to basically have your spells cost no mana. There's Amphibian Speed if you're doing the underwater travel, which will give you a little speed up, situationally good. And there's the Detective's Eye I mentioned if you're exploring and trying to learn the game. There's a couple. Ooh, Void Ray, that's huge. So that's one of the best offensive shards in the game. Now you're going to see a lot of farming... flashing screen warning-ish. There's going to be a lot of these where we just reset the room as fast as possible, and since Void Ray hits the entire length of the screen, we're just going to hit the bops on everybody and get as many kills as we can. This is one of those shards I was talking about before that has a per second cost, so if you only tap it for 1 or 2 frames, you can see Axel's only paying like 1 to 3 MP for each activation. It also has a really, really, really good, maybe the best, second best rate of damage ticking. So what that means is like the cooldown the enemy has before you can hit it again with that same shard. An alternative way to look at it would be like the light version of the same exact shard hits way less frequently, and that's just the way they programmed it. So it's a little bit less desirable, all things considered being the same, without resistances and weaknesses and all that. So that's why we like Void Ray. Just so happens to be the second to last, or the first phase of the final boss, however you want to call it, Dominique. She is weak to dark, so it just so happens to line up perfectly to use against her. And it's probably one of the safest because it has range. So you're going to be able to stay away from her deadliest attacks, which is summoning pets, elbowing you out of nowhere, and using Rose's Scarf to just absolutely obliterate you. Alright, so yeah, the game has mimics. What's up? And there's not just this one, there's another one. There are no silver chests in the game. There are only silver mimics, so keep that in mind when you're playing yourself. Just going to go ahead and farm this guy up. This is a good way to regen some MP as well. Just this guy's close enough to melee, so gonna check the list here, make sure he has a drop, probably. Yep, looks like he does. And if you need mana, you can break most of the torches in the game, similar to, there's no sub-weapons, but there are these little blue roses in a lot of the lamps, and those give you back MP. There can also be some money in there, but that's about all that's in there.
So one reason why I'm picking up a lot of these blue chests, even though I know that they don't really have anything, materials for upgrading shards, because something like Void Ray, I would like to upgrade just for extra range, make sure I hit my target, but because we don't know what Jeebel's glasses are, and they could be on a dismantle, I would like to have it just in case. Plus, I can maybe even craft something really good.
Yeah, and blue can also have food, so it's never a bad idea to stock up on healing items. And it can also have money. sometimes. So, we can use that to buy some other stuff from the shop, and especially since we don't want to sell a lot of the stuff that we can dismantle just in case we needed to craft those glasses. It's still worth picking up blues, especially if you think you're on a good pace, which Axel's on a pretty good pace right now. Okay, this guy appears in a different section of the castle, but, you never want to orphan that if... we call it... Oh, hey! Dimension Shift! There's one of 2 Go Mode items right there. That's also going to let us in all those small gaps, so... we already had full vertical movement for the most part unlocked. We just didn't have a way to get through the little gaps that we would need invert or Dimension Shift to get through, and now we have it. It's also really good in a pinch if you, for some reason don't have healing and you're about to die. A couple shards in the game have these invulnerability frames. Dimension Shift is one of them. And sometimes you can use it to get out of tricky situations.
You're just reminding me of that one race.
Yeah, well, I've done it myself quite a bit. There's also some cool tech you can do with it. Like, there is a section in the underwater area where you can use Dimension Shift without being able to sink or invert to actually get through going right to left in the middle area. It's really hard to line up, but it's possible. I did it in practice actually before the marathon once, and couldn't believe I hit it, to be honest. But yeah, there's all sorts of cool tech with it. It is a little bit finicky though. The way it's coded, it just doesn't like to work at I guess you would say the 100 and 360 degree angle, so straight up and straight down. Sometimes you can get it to come out, but it's just weird. And that it doesn't want to usually work those ways. So when you do climb with it, you're going to usually see people going in diagonals. And if you do, that's why. Just because the up often doesn't come out or just doesn't work. Okay. Got a couple of things to check over here.
Would you like to mention the funny thing about this door over here?
Oh yeah, this is a fun door. That little switch that opens it is actually linked with another door that we believe we saw earlier. That's over in the Dian's Shecht Citadel. If you open one, you open the other one. We don't really know why. Probably just an overlap of item identifiers, I guess. Again, not a programmer. Work with them, can only guess. Oh, hey, Hellhound. All right, so that's like one of the 2 best red shards in the game. Situationally, it's like, yeah, it's like 1 and 1A. You saw me use it in one of my runs with the marathon as well. It fills the screen with this giant Hellhound that does a ton of damage. But it costs 200 MP to use it, so it's really not plausible to use it without either like 99 stacks of like 3 or 4 MP recovery items or those Jeebles glasses that we're looking for. Okay, so this is the section right before where we would normally fight our buddy Jeeble himself, who is Richter's stand-in for this game. We don't have the sword though to actually fight him, so we're just going to clean up all these items, check the rooms over here. Hopefully that room in the middle that we haven't gone in yet is a teleporter, so we can get back easy. And then there's also some items in the big room that leads up before him. I'm going to check those first, so that way we can actually maximize our timing here, because we want to teleport out of the sections. We pretty much have cleared it all. I don't know if you went all the way around on the bottom, but that can be abandoned. And, yeah, you can always abandon that and come back later. There's some enemies down there. There's a couple checks, and there's a broken wall to check. But also what we're doing by traveling a bit around the castles, we're giving OD the ability to let us borrow some more books. So when you first approach him, you can only borrow 1 book. When you travel around the castle at least twice, see 2 different areas, and then come back to the library, whether it's teleporting or sometimes by opening doors. The door checks don't always flag properly. Teleporting guarantees it, but you'll be able to order a second book and borrow that. And then the 3rd book usually will open up after 2 more travels, but sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you have to hit an endgame area for that to open and then travel back up to them. But there's a couple other options. If you're, for whatever reason, doing a challenge run where you're not using shards to do damage, he has, enhanced strength. He has enhanced weapon speed. That missing string table entry is a funny story. We'll talk about that in a minute. It's always a potion of some kind. It just doesn't populate the name correctly. So in your inventory, it won't say that. It'll show you as a just regular potion there. But that was funny. That actually was a bug from one of the patches, and it was so funny that we actually asked the devs to leave it in, and they left it in. So it's just there for forever. But yeah, OD books, the only other books that we're really interested in are the Enhanced Intelligence book, for kind of the same reason that I mentioned with the yellow Enhanced Intelligence book from before. And there's another one that's Enhanced Luck, and it's kind of your flavor of what you want. Do you want faster killing potential, or do you want a slightly higher drop percentage? You know, if you're only going to grab a second book, we might not even grab another book because that section's for the most part cleared, and the teleport room is close, but it's not super close. All right, so we got another risk ring here. Double risk is a little shifty, but you know, as long as you don't get hit, it doesn't matter.
My defense is already 0, so it doesn't even matter if I equip a second one or not. So
Okay, yeah. If you got some better armor, it might actually play out to where you get the non-zero defense, but we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. All right, teleporting back into the tower section. There's a few more options. Again, we can go underwater with Deep Sinker. We can also clear out this section to the right here. There's a whole upside of the tower. There's a boss at the end, which normally would have a key item. And it's an auto-scroller boss. Not a bad section to clear out. You can... Oh, hey, there's the best weapon you can find in a chest. Slightly higher attack than the nice drop that we found earlier. And, you know, my favorite animation for a weapon, the sword and mace. It's the most consistent. Easiest one to cancel, fastest, without trading off range like the short sword dagger classes are. Yep. So, hey, Aqua Stream. Okay, that's another way to swim as well. One of the better shards in the game. It's again S tier. It's one of the 2 shards in the game that actually has a probably unintentional exploit. When you use it, you generate a little water gun that shoots water bubble, like pods of water at people. And when you use it, you know, you get locked in place because you know you can hold it down and you can use it. When you crouch, it actually generates another animation of the shard. So you get basically another hitbox on screen that does damage. And they can overlap with each other. So it does a fully double damage if you're fast enough, or somewhere between 1.x, you know, and 2, depending on how fast you can crouch and uncrouch, and crouch and uncrouch. And it's one of the preferred shards, especially for bosses with heavier health, because you can't out DPS it for the most part. If you have infinite MP, of course, to be able to use it as much as possible. But the MP cost on Aqua Stream is pretty low, so if we find a craftable drink item that will restore MP, we can buy a bunch of them and then kind of just like spam it when we run out of MP, open the menu, heal a bunch of MP, and then spam it again. A little slower than having infinite MP base, but it's still as effective. You know, we don't lose anything from pausing except for time. All right, activating this elevator here so we can go up and down the tower. And this is going to be kind of convenient too, because there is a check that is gated by Dimension Shift. It's an item check in here. And we would have to come back for this potentially if we did not have Dimension Shift drop for us earlier. So I totally understand the routing and coming through this area.
if I can fully clear it, might as well clear it because you never know what could be here.
Yeah, I mean, if you watch my marathon submission for the event that we had, I orphaned Dimension Shift on the only purple in the game that I thought I killed and I didn't. It was Mirage, of course, because it always is. And I added like 40 minutes to my STS run that I submitted. So if you want to see what that looks like, you can absolutely see it on YouTube. All right, cool. Yep, a lot of stat boost, which is always nice. Okay, not the accessory we're looking for. All right, open the chest. Here's that secret check. This is normally where the Valkyrie sword is. But just a useless piece of junk there. And here we are, 2.5D auto-scroller. Little chest up top, secret area there. And there's really not much to talk about here other than this guy has X amount of HP. You can't kill him until the third phase. We're going to deal a bunch of damage up front and then just kind of stand here, wait. You hit him once in the second phase to advance the auto-scroller, then you hit him once in the third phase to kill him. He does grab you and smash you through the floor to take you to the bottom. You can avoid getting grabbed, but we usually want to get grabbed because it's actually just faster. The only time you don't want to get grabbed is if you have a invert, I believe, because it's actually slower to get grabbed, then have to invert, then uninvert to get the item chest. Axel doing a little swag double jump there. Yeah, you can double jump, you can dive kick off enemies and reset your dive kick, which is pretty cool. There's actually an achievement in the game, I think, to do this 10 times without hitting the ground. Yep, they're gonna kiss. Aww. At least they also support the Liam Foundation. Unfortunately, we have to beam them out here for charity, and and we're gonna get grabbed, I'm pretty sure. So, what else have we not covered? I think I pretty much turboed out everything in the first hour.
Just for like a little bonus, at the very start, when I did my first shopping, I bought the macaroni and cheese. Shout out to Jupiter Climb. Always eat your macaroni and cheese when you get it.
Yeah, for sure. It gives a bonus to MP and MP regen, I think? No, MP?
Just max MP.
Yeah, max MP. But max MP is awesome. Again, you want to get higher MP because there's some spells that cost a lot. And also, you just want to have a higher pool to use for farming later. Hey, it's Graham. Shout out to Yeehaw. All right, so
I bought one.
yep. And that's kind of what happens in Randomizer. You know, there can be overlap. Like I said, everything in chests and on the ground, just laying around in the castle, has to be swapped with itself. There's no crafting items into the pool. So when crafting items get rolled into the shop, you're going to see duplicates sometimes and some stuff. Nice little shortcut dimension shift there. Also have access to the chest up top, but that was not a green, so we don't care about it. We're out of here. See you later. Breakable wall to the right. Yep. And, just an MP up. All right. Okay, Rob overall. That, if you are familiar with the Crusader Grim from Soten, is the spiritual successor. Oh, Vashia, that is the other best red shard in the game. But the Robin Brawl, when the game first came out, was very, very similar to the Crusader Grim, and it was just broken. So what they did was they just nerfed its attack into the ground, and so now it's still usable, but it does like the same amount of damage as that short sword that's a DLC that we began with. Ooh, the wrong glasses. There are a couple other glasses in the game that are just there to troll you. Gauge glasses aren't completely useless, but sunglasses are effectively useless.
Also, I think you're thinking of the Varal one, because there are two versions of the Crusader.
Yeah. There's an upgraded Rava Baral, that actually is good. It's just we almost never see it. You have to do some kind of crazy quest plus crafting or something. I don't even remember.
Something like that.
Yeah, but the Rava Baral, the base item, it just drops off of an enemy. It's a low percent, but you can get it and use it in some runs. Yeah, there's so many crafting items that it's easy to forget about because we just never see them, or if we do see them in a max cast like this, they're typically like not something we're going to go out of our way to craft because the glasses are just so good and they make everything else in the game that you're going to find incidentally so good that it just doesn't make sense to go out of your way to craft like the 60 attack light staff or, one of the cool weird hats or something. Which is a shame, but maybe with the next game, if they put Randomizer in it, they will devote a little bit more time and resources to the Randomizer part, and we'll get, that crossover. And if you really, really want to play with that and you're on PC, you can definitely seek out the methods to go ahead and make that work for yourself. All right, this is a little section in the game. We're going to talk about, that's some things I can cover. So these are little decent amount of enemies here. They're actually the intended progression path to kill them and get their shard. They have a higher drop rate. I think it's 10%. They drop the Aqua Stream shard normally, and to be able to go down in that water section, you in the vanilla game, you normally would need Aqua Stream. The game doesn't give you any other way to go down there, and it's the only way to go. But there's nothing really kind of tells you that that's what you're supposed to do. So this game is really old school in that aspect, and where it doesn't really embrace the tutorial type of mechanics that we have in a lot of other games these days. One of the other sections was when after Axel beat that auto-scroller boss in the tower, he did the high jump chain to get up onto that little platform with the spikes on it. That's where the Aegis plate is in the vanilla game, which you, again, pretty much need, unless you have like a bajillion health and a ton of HP, to progress in the game, through a specific area that's way later. And the game doesn't tell you anything about that's there or give you any indication that you can go up there, other than that there's unexplored map tiles. So it just kind of expects you to know that you should be exploring every map tile that you haven't gotten to, and so on. So that's probably something that's going to change in the next game. If I had to bet on one thing, I bet that they're going to have a much more robust in-game tutorial system to onboard new players. So if you pick this game up and you're new and you have any questions like that, you can always hit us up. We have a Discord. We have several Discords, actually. There's one for Bloodstained speedruns. There's one for the Randomizer racing. There's the main Bloodstained Discord that's run by It's basically the official, unofficial one. So you can join any of those and ask questions in the randomizer channels, and we'll help you out. I think all of us are probably in all of them. I'll probably end up, if you guys watching this are familiar with Luffy, that's also part of FFR. He expressed a lot of interest. I actually ran my second run on his computer. He purchased the game. It was on sale last weekend, so keep your eyes out for that. It goes on sale all the time on various platforms, and he expressed interest in getting to learn the game, so we're probably going to do some stuff where I teach him a little bit about it. If I'm lucky, if I play my cards right, maybe he'll teach me some of his FFR wisdom, because I've been picking that up since the marathon, having a blast with that. And I also was playing Worlds Collide earlier this week. If you guys tuned into that run a little bit earlier, that was pretty sweet. Love seeing Umaro just blast everything and office linebacker people. So that was really cool, and we had some really good Worlds Collide at the event as well, live. Pretty great. We had great Final Fantasy 1 runs, we had great Final Fantasy 5 runs, we had Chrysalis, we had Chrono Trigger, Golden Sun. I know I'm going to leave some stuff out. Ori, we had Castlevania, other Castlevanias, we had all sorts of cool stuff. So make sure you keep your eyes open and watch the FFR channel in the coming days to get all the VODs and supercuts and all that. You can go watch the stuff back live at Twitch right now, but if you want to watch a specific run and all that, I'm sure that stuff will all get cut up soon. I'm looking forward to going back and watching some of the stuff that I missed that was on overnight when we had to sleep, unfortunately. And yeah, this is Caverns. Welcome to Fran's favorite area. And yeah, that was Caverns. We're out of there. There's a section to the left, but it's a little ambitious. We could have went that way. We do have Deep Sync and Dimension Shift, but this usually is the more fruitful way to go. There's a boss over here, guaranteed drop. There's more save rooms. Ooh, Ectoplasm. Okay, so that means that this guy right here drops Alcast. There's really nothing, and it's the good drop pool because Ectoplasm drops Alcast times 2. The other two drop pools only drop a single Alcast with their other item. Kind of unfortunately, there's nothing really in the shop that is like game breaking that we can craft as of yet. But now that we know that it's right next to a teleporter room, that's really convenient. So if we find glasses, either on craft or dismantle, we're just going to come back here, farm Alcahast stuff, and get the glasses. That's going to be much quicker than like farming out food materials, breaking a food down, and then recrafting it to make it show up in the shop so that we can buy it. Oh yeah, that's something interesting. When you dismantle something, you just dismantle it. But when you craft something, it then becomes available for purchase in the shop. So if it's something like food or potion or waste stones especially, you definitely want to craft those so that you can buy a bunch of them afterwards. Just a tip for the Max Chaos players out there. Yeah, I'm banking on that because I definitely was playing some runs and I'm like, oh yeah, of FFR, and I'm like, oh yeah, I should probably have some maps up because I don't remember where any of the stuff is at. My first run, I forgot to turn on auto retarget, and I couldn't figure out why all my melee attacks were missing. So, hey, there's our first green shard, and it's Dulla Hammerhead. Not the worst pet out of the 6, but the second worst. It's still useful though. Thankfully in this game, all the pets except for Brewer do something, and Brewer does do something. It's just something that's usually impeding your movement. You can use him to dive kick in areas off of him where you normally wouldn't be able to dive kick and get yourself out of soft blocks, but that's a pretty rare thing and we don't really see it a whole lot. Most of the time, if we get the Brewer pet, you'll just see us unequip him right away because unfortunately he rolls around and he'll get in your way and you'll bounce off of him trying to move forward. That's not what we want. So. Okay. More greens. Unfortunately, not the joy we're looking for. I had one other thing, but then we found some stuff and it slipped my mind, so I'll probably remember it later. That I remember to talk about, but yeah. This game, there's so much going on. You could easily write a dissertation. You didn't grab that.
Oh yeah, you're right.
I don't think that's glasses, but no. Yeah, well that and on the top, you didn't grab the item on the left too. I don't remember 100%. I have a memory of a goldfish when it comes to this stuff. I can remember all the dumb data that you read in a book, but when it comes to like with the seed I played, go back up there, go back in that room.
Oh, all right. I think I got it.
To the left?
No.
Yeah. Okay, I just want to make sure that wasn't glasses. Okay, so anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm a complete goldfish on, like, you know, it's like you can't remember what you ate for breakfast, but you can remember, like, the, you know, thing that you did 20 years ago. Kind of applies, you know, to this game here. This is the normal little gap we need Dimension Shift or Reflector Ray to get through. Unfortunately, not Jeeble's glasses or the Zangetsu Toe. Okay. Could go down through the sand there, but it's much slower than just running around. For whatever reason, that sand pit takes forever to pull you down. Here's our good buddy Rocky. He shares a drop with Puppy. Okay, that's cool. That means we don't have to farm Puppy now. And there's all sorts of hidden stuff here, just under sand that you wouldn't see normally. Breakable wall over here to the right. The Fraggle Rock Sword. Okay, it looks like we're going to make our way to my favorite area of the castle that I affectionately call Lethal Lava Land. I call pretty much every area in this game after Super Mario 64. I think I was commentating a race in the last tournament, and I couldn't remember what the name of this place was. I don't know why, it's like the simplest name ever. It's like Volcano Cave. I couldn't remember what it was, and the first thing that popped in my head to talk about what it was Lethal Lava Land. So it kind of just became a habit after that. So now we're back into dry docks here. And yeah, I got them. Don't worry. Cuckoo Mountain and Tiny Huge Island are coming later. And yeah, just some chests to check. A couple enemies that are unique to this side of the caverns, like that little eye guy there. I think, does he drop Detective's Eye in vanilla?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's what the drop. Yeah. I play so much Randomizer, I don't really remember where a lot of the shards are for vanilla drops. But yeah. So that's the guy you want to farm if you want to find all the secret hidden walls. Or we have some really good resource materials too. Community member that I haven't seen in a while. I hope he's doing well. Scott Moon. He made this really ridiculously great Excel Google sheet that has a map of the whole castle and every single location and where everything is, and even soft walkable points, like where you need certain height to get out. Oh, that's the one other thing that I was gonna. We just passed by a room there that was a green teleport room. There are 2 rooms in the. There's 3 rooms that are always a teleport. There's 3 rooms, 2 that are always a teleport, and 1 that's always a save. So the save that's by the shop is always a save. The teleport room that's above the village is always a teleport room. And then that room right there, in between the desert and the volcano area, is always a teleport. And, well, actually, no, there is 3. There's a room, another room, north in the caverns, up and around by the entrance to the other lab, that's also always a teleport. And the reason the village is always a teleport is because, obviously, not being able to get back without waste stones would suck. And the reason the other 2 rooms are teleport rooms, hard-coded in, is because both of those spots to get to the teleport room require some kind of vertical movement to get out of that area, and you can get to both of them in the vanilla game by mistake. So they want to make sure you have a way to get out without soft-locking yourself. So that is actually a soft-lock prevention method that works all the time. Here's the nice little boss here. This guy normally has invert. He's the undead, though, so he's actually weak to fire, which is weird because he's in the fire area, where everything basically beside him is resistant to fire. Little upbeat heat. Don't see that very often. It's actually pretty good bang for the buck if you can get her to hit with all of her fire there. Again, we would use Hellhound, but it costs 200 MP, and we don't have MP regen. We don't have glasses. Very nice. Okay, this is a guaranteed shard drop. Let's see what it is. Reflector Ray. Okay, unfortunately, that's basically useless since we already have Dimension Shift, but, you know. We could have found invert and then got in here without Dimension Shift if we, like, you know, didn't get the drop or whatever. We abandoned it, and we could still progress forward with that, you know, which is cool because there's a spot underwater where you need Deep Sinker and either Reflector Ray or Dimension Shift to get through. So we could have actually gotten to that section past the next area after this volcano area. Yeah, now we're kind of at the point where we don't really need the blue chests anymore. So I'm just going to skip those probably. Yeah,
If
we
they're on the
came
way,
in...
I'll grab them.
Yeah, if they're too far out of the way, kind of not worth the time at this point. But, you know, we have a lot of time on our estimate, so we're not really in a rush outside of personal pride as speedrunners. Okay, so these rooms are a little bit nasty, especially the lava there. If you have the Aegis plate, it actually protects you from the lava. However, it does not protect you from the lava in the final boss fight if that happens. It used to, and then they patched that out because they didn't want it to be a free stand in the lava and don't care when you roll that RNG in the final boss. So I think they actually changed the coding of it somehow to make it not affected by Aegis plate. Okay. Let's see. I've got optional super bosses to talk about still, and then the 2 safety locations. We didn't really mention those because they don't really usually apply in max cast. Because if you're gonna get soft lock, you're gonna get soft lock no matter what. But the game has 2 safety locations. One for Zangetsu To, the sword we're looking for, which was in that breakable floor in the Citadel / Guard. It's Citadel. Didn't spawn because, you know, typically it only spawns if the sword is locked behind itself, which is in the 2 final areas of the game. The other one is sometimes you will get the invert shard in case, you know, all the movements lock behind one of the movements. And that's where Axel first entered the main castle after being in the village and went and did all those super jumps upwards. Went into that room to the left side and kind of did like a sequence break there. That's where that would spawn, but again, you know, we had high jump right on the boat, so it's not going to spawn. So there are some soft lock prevention mechanics if you're playing with the built-in randomizer, but unfortunately, they're not 100% reliable. So just keep that in mind. You might also find something like required shards, like dimension shift here, or a progression shard like reflector ray as craftable in the shop. And sometimes you have to farm all the materials for them. They might not be accessible. You might also have to farm something super rare. Yeah.
So I am playing like with an uncapped frame rate because I used to have like frame rate smoothing on. I used to have VSync on. I recently turned them off because I realized, wait, why is my font tab not as good as like Tony's right now? Yeah. And then I realized, those are on. I have never seen those things swing that way, so that just took me by surprise because I haven't been down here since I made the change.
Yeah, and there's a lot of things in the game that are tied to frame rate, good and bad actually. So there's objects in the background that have hitboxes that you can't interact with other than get hit by them. There's basically the frames that you have of what we call coyote time, where you slide off a ledge there, or when you do a reflector ray or a dimension shift, you actually have a certain amount of time that you can execute a jump if you haven't used your jump up already, and you get a little bit longer of a window. There's certain damage that's tied to frame rate. If you play this game on the Switch where you're capped at 30 FPS, there's actually some fights that are less dangerous because you literally can't take damage fast enough to get punished as hard. And sometimes clipping through walls is actually easier with 30 frames as opposed to 60 or higher. So there's all sorts of weird stuff. This is not anything new. You can go all the way back to like Half-Life 1 and like old PC games where things are tied to frame rate. This is an Unreal Engine 4 game, but it's an interesting decision that they made to tie it to frame rate, especially when there's different frame rate options depending on like what you're playing on. This is another guaranteed shard drop. You almost never see this in SDS because this is normally a blue shard, and there are no purple shards in this section, and there are no accessory checks in this section. But you'll see a decent amount in max cast just because like anything can be anywhere. You know, and it's easier to get in here because you're more likely to find the ways to come in the front section as well as go in the back section, and still be missing something you need to beat the game, like the Zangetsu To sword that we're still missing here. So there's still some chests to clean up in this section. A nice little green chest over there. Oh, hey, there you go. There's the go mode for us right there. Don't have a great method of dealing a ton of damage, but we got a lot of stat ups. We got a lot of strength. You know, it's feasible to beat everything in the end game with melee if you're really good, and Axel's really good. So I would be surprised if you just go for it right here. Pretty good time. 110 go mode is pretty good for something that hidden that deep into the castle. Dragon Scale will upgrade Void Ray. Aquatic Blood upgrades Aqua Stream. See what else we got in here. Platinum would upgrade Tits if we had it. Probably Void Ray for Dominique and Aqua Stream for the final boss. It's unfortunate we don't have glasses or MP regen of any kind, because that would really simplify the endgame fights here. Yep, powering up Hellhound. As I mentioned earlier, 2 ways to power up your shards. Stack them up, multiple copies, or come here and sink some materials in. And you can see there on the bottom right, it'll actually tell you the rank and the grade that directly reflects your stack plus your upgrade, and then it'll tell you what upgrading it does, which is pretty cool. So one place where they actually got the tutorial stuff correct. Now that we're going to go over, we're going to sell a lot of this stuff. We're going to buy all the healing. And this is going to help mitigate anything that could go wrong in the final boss fight. Even though there's no MP item here, was there? The bottom. No, there's no. Yeah, okay. I was looking for an item called. What's it called? It gives you a bunch of HP regen like immediately. It's like 4,700 gold usually. I'm blanking on the name, but it's really good. You almost never see it in STS. You see it sometimes in MC.
If it's empty, then it's Nectar, probably.
Yeah, Nectar. Yeah, that's it. So buying 1 or 2 of those is really nice, especially if you don't have infinite MP, because you get a ton of MP regen. You can use 1 in the first fight and 1 in the second fight. Really get a bunch of extra damage in, especially with the melee. So we're about to fight Jeeble here. We have to be very careful, much like Richter from Soten. If we do too much damage, we kill him and we get the bad ending. And then, if we do enough damage to get him under a certain level of HP, the thing that's manipulating him will show itself. We can defeat it with the Zangetsu Tokatana that we just picked up. It's that little moon in the background there. And it's going to turn red at when he has about 600 HP left. Got to be really careful here not to do too much damage. Yep, very nice. Super quick kill, and the medal, of course. When you get those little medals when you fight a boss, it means you did it without taking damage. And if you get the kill shot and get hit by something with the boss afterwards, you still get the medal, which is nice. Alright, so we're good to go here. We're good to go into the final area, which is... they do actually tell you where it is if you talk to the NPCs. Like, they give you hints and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But we're going back to this basically innocuous hallway in the middle of the garden. We're going to use the sword again, now that we've exposed Gremory for her corrupted evil ways. We're going to slice her again, and we're going to get into one of my favorite areas of the game. Not my favorite area, that's the volcano, but one of my other favorite areas. The Tiny Huge Island, or as it's properly called, the Den of Behemoths. The gimmick of this is you are very small and everything is massive. Just like in Super Mario 64. So you're going to see gigantic enemies, you're going to see some boss enemies return as normal enemies. You're going to see us skip one of the funner boss fights in the game. And there's not too much to talk about since we're kind of in go mode here and we got a little bit to track through. We don't have great horizontal movement. We have good horizontal movement. But I'll just talk about the optional super bosses real quick since we didn't actually see any of them. Normally in the game there's a few super bosses that you get those keys to unlock. There's a slot machine guy. He drops a red shard called Jackpot. That's the Millionaire's key that unlocks that. There's the Byman Selmont, as if you saw my first run on the live marathon, and Axel so generously donated to name the file name after. He's called Warhorse. The Warhorse's key opens his room. He's basically Simon Belmont from Castlevania 2? Or 1? 2.
1, 2.
Trevor's 1. Yeah, okay. Yeah,
No. Simon is 1.
Simon is 1? Okay.
Trevor is 3.
3, okay, yeah. And so he basically has all the attacks that Simon has. He has the axe, he has the whip, he jumps around, he throws the sub-weapon, the other sub-weapons and stuff. Does a lot of damage. He has 100% guaranteed shard drop rate, which is cool. I think so does Millionaire. But that's a red shard, so we don't usually see him in STS runs. We will see Simon a little bit, or Byman, for legally distinct purposes, quite often because he drops a purple in those other runs. And then the last one that we typically see is Carpenter. He's up in the top left of the castle, the Oriental Sorcerer Lab, which we didn't see, thankfully, in this run. That's probably the worst area in the game. It has a bunch of enemies that just absolutely destroy you. It's normally required, though, because that's where you fight Zangetsu again, and he actually gives you this katana that we have that you need to progress through the game. But he has the Chisel Barrage normally. He's only 10% drop, and he's the only other 10% drop. I have to look at the file again, but That's the other crouch cancelable shard. And it does really good damage, and it actually does mini stuns, so it can really just completely invalidate a bunch of the bosses in the game. So those are cool things that you can try. They're not required in any way in the normal vanilla playthrough, but you can check them out. OD that we mentioned earlier is also an optional super boss. And then there's one more that's on the train that I'm just going to leave you to find out about on your own. We want to leave some things to mystery here. But totally optional, because I think he drops resist curse, which is not really necessary. There's only like 3 or 4 enemies in the entire game that curse you. So, not a huge deal, but he's probably the hardest one. Does the most damage. And you fight him in really tight space, so if you don't have like really good gear and really good offense, it's going to be tough. But yeah, there's tons of stuff to do. And there's a DLC area in the game that's, I believe, free. In the vanilla game, it doesn't show up in Randomizer, of course, because it'll probably break everything, but you can check that out as well. Has another tiny, huge section, a lot like the one we just went through. And welcome to Cool Mountain. This is the last section of the game. Careful with these ice elementals, they do a ton of damage. Everything, again, scales up exponentially in the game. Every new area you go into, enemies have more health, they do more damage. They really expect you to kill stuff, level up, probably be around level 50 to 60 by the time you get here. Typically, in an STS run, we're fighting the end boss somewhere between level 12 to level 20 at most, and in max it's a little bit more, but not too much. Because enemies start giving you less EXP, of course, as you level, depending on their level and all that. It really does have a lot of RPG elements. This is a save room. That's normally a teleport. Not great, but we already made our shop trip, so not a big deal. This is where you would fight OD if you had the requisite stuff. Okay, validation chest, number 1. Just a recipe. Could get lucky and spike Jeeble's glasses here. Not too far out of the way. There's another chest to the left. Are we going to check that? Yep. It is green. Fingers crossed. Not the right accessory. There's another chest over here as well, but it's just blue. There's perfect execution of that dimension shift to not get hit. Right there that we were talking about earlier. And here's the solid walls that you just cannot get through without this shard. So you are hard locked out of beating the game without it. One last chance to get Jeeble's glasses here in the wall. Okay, don't have them. I know where they are. I did find them in my playthrough. They are in a terribly out-of-the-way area that we'll mention after it's over. But it's an area that you would never go to. I don't even know why I went there myself. I'd have to watch myself back playing it, but I didn't record it, so I didn't want there to be any.
I think I have an idea.
Yeah, it's not an OSL, but it is in an area we were. We never went to the section of the area that it is in.
Oh, it's caverns.
Yeah, it's in caverns somewhere, but I'll let you find it on your own after we're done. All right.
So just a safety save.
Yeah, you never know. Dominique here, not so much on Bale, but Dominique here, she has a couple things that can accidentally just roll full stomp combo you. Like, literally, you can't even make any inputs. Like, when she summons her ghost pets, if you accidentally get hit by one, they could chain hit you before, especially with high frame rate, they could chain hit you before you even get a chance to react. And with Risk Ring on, Axel's taking a bunch of extra damage, but he's also dealing a bunch of extra damage here. Nice parry. That's a Street Fighter input command on the weapon. Some of them make you dash really fast, some of them are parries, some of them are special attacks. Oh, that elbow. Special note about that elbow, Dom can use that attack and then store it and then just bust it out on frame 1 at any time later. Its hitbox is massive. It hits up above her, hits slightly behind her. It's kind of nuts. This attack can also kill you out of nowhere.
Where is it?
You can dimension shift past the beam, but it's a little risky. Especially in the corner. If you get hit by one of the beams, you can duck under and it shouldn't hit you again. Okay, good menuing there. Oh, one hit away. That attack doesn't come out until she gets into phase 2, when she's at half health. You can actually put her into phases early. You can poison her. You can curse her, which halves her HP, just like it halves Miriam's. and put her into her endgame phase earlier, but that does wear off, so she'll get all that HP back. We don't kill her fast enough, which is kind of interesting. There's only a couple of shards that do that curse. There's a couple weapons that do as well. All right, so now we have Bale, the final boss. There's a bunch of down attacks. She's going to inhibit one of the heads here, and these are all different. They have different attack patterns. The other heads will assist in a unique way depending on which head she has as well. And this is complete RNG. The only thing that is a rule is that you can't get the same head twice in a row. The frog lizardy head here is the best. This is the easiest to deal with, and has the basically the least amount of. It has the longest amount of frames on its attack that you can do damage. So yeah, get ready on time because it's going to be soon. You're going to see the whole screen freak out on the last hit here. Probably pretty close. Using some ethers, get some MP back. Can always finish it off with melee. Time. Very nice. You definitely beat me by about, I want to say about 7 minutes? Without glasses, so very nice run.
I'll take it.
And we've still got plenty of time left, so if you want to do another one, as long as, host doesn't object, we can run another seed.
Yeah.
I can give you an STS, and we can show off the other category, since you destroyed that one so nicely.
Might as well destroy my sleep schedule while we're at it. Let's go.
or we can take off. It's not a problem.
No. Let's have some fun. I'll be all right.
Okay.
I know Jay's half listening, and I'm trashing Jay every chance I get today since I'm covering for him. So.
Well, Jay definitely put the hours in last weekend. So if anybody deserves some time off, he does for sure. All right. Let me give you. I don't even know what any of these are. So here, have this one. Let me just make sure I typed it in correctly. Okay. So these I found in practice. I don't remember anything about them. They're from weeks ago. So this one, folks, though, is this is STS. So we're going to give you a nice quick double header here, and this is going to show off the difference in categories. Already, right away, we're skipping stuff because we know what's in it. So that first chest is a key item, and like I mentioned before, all of these chests, we're going to equip the DLC gear. DLC gives you a 10 boost to strength and intelligence while you're wearing it, which is pretty cool. It's going to have our shard and our weapon do a little bit of extra damage. Using nose glasses. There's some luck on those. Might want to put those on a little bit later, though. Luck not as important in this category because we don't have to kill as many enemies, but we're already just completely skipping all those checks at the bottom there. We know there's like a weapon and some armor and all that, but we really don't need it. Oh, Aqua Stream's really nice. I'm just Santa Claus. I'm just giving you all the nice ones today. But yeah, basically, we know where all the purple enemies are. The purple enemies are only shuffled with the purple enemies, so that's all we're going to kill. We'll kill some other enemies incidentally if they're not in the way. Try to spike a good red or maybe some blues here and there. But we really don't need it. All the key items are going to stay shuffled with themselves. So like that chest right there, that's the base, what Johannes gives you at the shop to help you out and craft some stuff early. Which is really nice to find early because that means we're going to be able to craft those randomized recipes early. But we also know exactly what chests have accessories in them. This one always has a scarf. All those scarves only shuffle with scarves and so on. We also know where all the stat ups are. We know everything about where all the stuff is. So we're only going to pick up the stuff that we absolutely need. And the Zangetsu Toe that we need to beat the game is actually the second strongest melee weapon you can find that's laying around in the world anyway, based on raw attack power. So really, if you have a weapon that's serviceable, and you have good skill like Axel, and you get really good melee combat in, you really don't need to pick up any other weapons. You'll pick them up like that one if they're like right there, or maybe you'll buy one from the shop. But we're probably not going to go out of our way since the actual best one, like I mentioned, the Valkyrie sword, that could be in one of the weapon chests. But normally, like the vanilla game, you'd have to already have Dimension Shift to get it, and it's totally out of the way. You have to backtrack to that tower area that we don't really want to do. So odds are we won't really even need to worry about melee. Waystone is always good, especially if they're not in the shop. You can see Aqua Stream there, getting that crouch tech cancel. Very nice fight. And Shurika, that's a great red. That's probably an A tier red. Probably top 6 reds. I'm trying to think. Rashia, Hellhound, Spear, Toxic Storm. Yeah, it's in there. Hits multiple times. It's a lot like Throw Spear with lower attack power. But not that much lower attack power. Ooh, convex glasses. Those are not good. But we could still do the quest here. It's debatable on whether it's worth it or not. You could get some good food. You could get a drink off of the recipes locked behind that initial quest. And you can also get 5 kills on Bowmort, which drops a purple while you're doing it in the room to the left that has them. Also, we have the Tunic. That's the start of the Fetch quest chain, which normally would get you all the way to the Solomon Ring. It's a very specific set of items. The rewards can be randomized, but the turn-ins cannot. It's one of those things like food that I mentioned in the previous run that just can't be randomized. But normally, if you play the vanilla game, the reward at the end is the Solomon Ring. It's a really good accessory. It has a plus to all stats. It's very good. But the main gimmick is that it makes shard drops independently more likely to happen, which is huge, especially in max cap when you're trying to find all these different shard drops. If you see one, it's always worth grabbing. But unfortunately, it's hey, look at that. So glasses early. This is going to turn in to a really fast horizontal movement here. Like I'm glad we get to show this off. Yeehaw's going to be happy about this. So quarter circle forward and attack, and yeah, Graham just lets you run through horizontally here, and it's going to turn all those shards that we might have not used into pretty good offense, especially that shuriken what we already found. And all of our save and warp rooms are back to vanilla, so we know exactly where warp rooms are. So the cool bit about this run as well is we're not going to bother to save a whole lot. Maybe only before the final boss or something that might be dangerous. But with glasses, it's going to be hard to die. Because even when you're getting hit, you can pause and use healing. You just have to make sure you pause before you take that last hit that puts you to 0. Okay, and I'm trying to think of other stuff I haven't covered. But again, could write you a dissertation about this game and still leave a bunch of stuff out. But you don't need to know any of this stuff to play and have fun, which is really cool. It's one of the easiest to get into Metroidvanias, and we have a built-in randomizer. So if you're somebody who's adverse to, going to a website, reading flags and understanding what they mean, and this is a great way to enter the randomizers in general. There's only 8 options in the menu to toggle, and they all have descriptions on what they do. And we can, always give advice on that. There's really only 1 flag or 2 flags that you want to set the same every time. And that's, as Axel mentioned at the beginning of the first run, defeat all evil, so you get the full experience of the game. And then the next one is right below that, and that's the key items one. You always want to set that to anywhere, because if you don't, the way the game shuffles the item progression is not necessarily, I don't know what the right word is, I'll think of it later, but the way that the game shuffles progression is not on the normal level of keeping things in the same tier of progression. So it'll shuffle a blue shard or purple shard to a blue shard spot that normally would be a progression spot to defeat that enemy, instead of just shuffling items in shards. So it's really confusing and creates weird methods of getting soft locked actually that you wouldn't normally have, and it really makes routing almost impossible to assist with, because it doesn't do it really in the correct manner. So my advice for a new player is, if you get into the randomizer mode, just make sure that first option is set to defeat all evil, and that the second option is set to anywhere. Don't worry about the key items being anywhere. That will be taken care of by the item flag that you set a little bit later, and it won't actually quote unquote be anywhere. Alright, so we're just going to do a little bit of farming here for our main man Toad. Unfortunately, he has one of the lowest drop percentages in the game. I think there is 1 or 2 enemies with 2%, and he is one of the several with 3%. So this room is unfortunate. It's just huge, and it takes forever to reset. I almost always orphan Toad, and I've lost many of the race to Toad having dimension shift, but depending on what we find, we can always come back to that. There's a bunch of other places where Toad's at to farm later. Ooh, Vashio with infinite MP is real nice. Definitely an S tier shard. Has a lot of secret tech that you can use with it. It creates all these ice blocks and drops them from the ceiling. You'll see some enemies using them, like Demon Lord and our friend Dominique there at the end of the game. When we find the invert shard, Vashia and a couple others actually have some secret tech where, since they are gravity-based, you can throw the Vashia ice blocks out. They will start to fall. The hitbox are active as soon as they spawn. And then you can invert, and they will fall in the opposite direction with their hitboxes still active. You can also cast more Vashias in between. You can then reactivate invert, flip right side up, and they will, again, reverse gravity and fall in the other direction. All other hitboxes remain on screen. And the ice block's hitbox remains on screen until it hits something solid. So you could theoretically, at that last boss there, throw 4 or 5 Ashias up and just continue to chain inverts over and over. And every frame that the hitbox of that icicle is available to do damage to the boss, as long as its hitbox is overlapping the boss's hurtbox, it will continue to do damage. It's very cool. There's other shards like Ravishing, Ruidus Rude that do it. Anything that kind of like persists on screen and like has a constant ticking hitbox of damage will do it. So about all sorts of cool options we have to defeat the end boss, and sometimes you'll see Jet Seeds where we just go with melee because we have a bunch of healing or whatever. Okay, cool. Chisel Barrage also really good. So we're set on damage. It's all about now just finding that Dimension Shift shard and finding the key item location that has our sword. We're just gonna melt Zangetsu here. We have this much good stuff early. We just tend to skip pretty much everything that's not a purple shard. And this is the standard route. This is the route we would take without movement. And since we're not on max cast now, the white lamp up here is going to have a white shard in it. Let's cross our fingers and hope it's not shortcut, so that we actually get some kind of progression that will open up another section. Hey, okay, double jump. Double jump by itself does not open a brand new area of the castle. However, it does open another section of this particular zone that we're in right now. And I'm sure once Axel checks the safety here, he'll show that off. Oh, hey, we have safety invert as well, which is interesting. So the game doesn't assume you can double jump your way to the next white shard, so it spawned that invert shard. And that probably means that Dimension Shift's not... I don't think... Well, the thing is, we don't really have logic. There's just a couple if-then checks that don't always work. So, if there was logic, the game would basically see that, hey, Dimension Shift's not early enough in the purples to, lock you... or unlock the rest of the castle. And double jump doesn't get you... Yeah, normally we'd double jump kick up those lanterns if we didn't have invert to get up to this section. And even though we couldn't normally progress at the end of this section all the way to the north part of it, we could open up a shortcut, come back down, so that when we get vertical movement for later, it's already open. And since we don't have shuffled warp rooms, there's a warp room right over here as well that we could use to fast travel back. But now with invert, we can actually just kind of skip all that stuff if we want and go straight to all the key item checks that are available. Okay. So Raj right there, he drops a purple. This is a fine place to farm him. He's got like 6 or 7 good spots to farm, actually, if you have range. If you don't have range, he has one very specific spot where he's basically within melee range as you enter the screen. That's over in the library. I actually have some tutorial videos up that kind of goes through pretty much all the stuff I've talked about today during the runs, but also a video that talks about where some of the best farming spots are for pretty much every single enemy in the game. I think I covered everything. There's always going to be exceptions depending on what you have at your disposal, like what shards, if you have infinite mana, what equipment you have, and which siege you're playing, what section of the castles you have access to. But this is fine, Fortune of the Raj not really cooperating here. We don't need to check the menu as well. Again, the 2 enemies with the blanks will only be shuffled with each other. In this preset that we're using. Hey, Feltive. Okay, well, I mean, we didn't need it, but it is, also a super good shard. We probably won't end up using it, though. it has all the benefits of Void Ray. Actually, even has a little bit faster DPS, but it has one major downside, and that is the range. However, it does have one major upside in that it has the fastest damage tick rate in the game. So if you are able to stand next to an enemy safely and spam it, you will be able to do more damage faster than any other shard, excluding the 2 crouch tech shards that we have. They usually hit about even with it, but you don't have to do the crouch teching, which is, if you have any kind of hand or wrist issues, can kind of be a big help. I know sometimes what deters people from playing some of these types of games is the not the difficulty of the inputs, but the amount of the inputs that you have to do throughout the whole course of the run. So, if you ever want to check out the PC version that randomizes extra stuff, I do believe they have some flags that you can also set for yourself that will guarantee you certain items at the start. So that you can guarantee yourself, I think, glasses, which is nice. So if you're beginning and you really just want to learn where everything's at, that's a really nice way to do it, and do some early practice. But the game is pretty fun to play through on the first playthrough. It's a little bit more on rails than most Metroidvanias, like I mentioned before, but the story is actually not bad. And there's good English voice acting, which is not typically a common thing. Okay, so we're just finding all the good shards except Dimension Shift here. Probably gonna grab this warp just in case we gotta come back. If the Oriole Sorcery Lab that I mentioned that we did not see in the last run is required for some reason, this is going to be the closest teleporter to that area. And you're going to see Axel switching up between shards depending on where he's at and what he's trying to do. Beam Weapon, usually just the good all-purpose stuff to farm here. Even if it's a slower damage-taking one, you can see there that, like I mentioned before, Tis was saying it just doesn't hit for damage as quickly as Void Ray does, but it's light element, so there's some stuff that's weak to it. It's great for breaking open walls and, just hitting stuff from across the screen. If there's anything with more health, we'll probably switch to, like, say a Aqua Stream or Valtive or something like that. Oh, and we have the safety Zangetsu, so there you go. Both safeties in 1C, pretty rare, but maybe it thought, one thing I've speculated on is unfortunately these 2 safety rules that they wrote in don't really know how to talk with each other. So it probably, we see an empty green chest somewhere before we get to that area. That's where Zangetsu was. So we might actually see the chest that it was in. And it's very possible that it put it in an area that required vertical movement that it didn't think we were going to be able to have. And since we couldn't get to it, that's why it also gave us the vertical movement safety as well. So we'll probably see it either in the next room here or in the attic right before we fight Jeeble. Okay. Outsider doesn't have it. And as far as purples go, we have 34, I believe. Yeah, so we're just basically at a 1 in 34 chance. And hey, there's Bromide. That opens up the train area. So thankfully, oh yeah, I can mention this. All these seeds that Axel's playing, the reason he put in the string of numbers there, normally you'll get a random string of numbers, is because we play vetted seeds. The aforementioned soft lock issues means that for anything competitive or showcase like this, we're always going to vet the seeds ahead of time with somebody that's a neutral party and isn't involved. Like if it's a tournament match or a race or something, we have like a list. We have a channel on Discord where we compile them so we can just grab one from there, as long as that person isn't also racing. Or we'll have them vetted ahead of time specifically for matches. Speaking of rando tournaments, while we're kind of like having a little lull here while we check the last little bit and we fight Jeeble. We did have a tournament in 2023. It was a lot of fun. I commentated some of the matches in it. And unfortunately, in 2024, we did not have a tournament. And that's due to a very unfortunate bug glitch in the game that still technically exists, but it's very, very hard to do. Oh, cool. We're going to see the 8-bit section here. There's a purple drop. That little skull guy drops a purple. Ooh, first one. Waystone out and teleport back. Very good strats there.
I paid my taxes.
Yep, for sure. That's always awesome. There's not an infinite amount of spawning guys in there. Oh, you didn't get the teleport room. Okay, well,
Okay. Well,
cool.
it's
This gives
not
me
that
more
bad.
time to talk about what I was going to talk about. So, we did not have a tournament in 2024. There was basically a menu glitch where when you talk to any NPC in the game that had a menu you could scroll through, which is pretty much all of them, except for like the haircut guy, I think, and like maybe one or two other NPCs, you could accidentally hard lock yourself in the menu and be unable to like unlock the cursor from whatever you selected. And unfortunately, since you get to the shop right away, this can happen to you very early. It can happen to you in any format of the game, the base vanilla playthrough, speedrun mode, randomizer mode, all of it. And it took several months to fix it. So we kind of just lost 2024 to the ether. We still played matches, but you know, people lost races over it, and it really just kind of like drove down the amount of how much we were playing the game. However, that's been fixed for the most part. To do it, you really, really have to try to do it. I have not managed to be able to do it myself. I think Eon's managed to do it a couple times. But, you know, it's basically not there anymore. And with that, and with the announcement of a new game coming next year, I would like to try to revive the tournament scene for one last go before we get the new game. And, you know, if the new game doesn't have Randomizer, you know, maybe try to get some of those players that are thirsting for Randomizer a way to play Bloodstained, but with a Randomizer that they can play on any platform that it's available on. So what I'm going to do is once we're done with the racing here tonight, I'm going to drop links to a kind of like an interest form, if you will, in several Discords out there. So be sure to join the FFR Discord. You can join our Bloodstained Discords. I'm going to drop in all of them, and it's just kind of just to gauge interest on what people may be thinking about in terms of, you know, whether or not they're interested in playing, or even if they're just interested in viewing, maybe like what you want to see, what categories you want to see, what maybe extra things you would want to see. And I know it's tough to make these kind of things happen because, you know, even remotely, people have real life, they have scheduling conflicts, they have all sorts of things going on. So what I want to do to make sure that it's worth people's time is I want to have a pretty sizable prize pool right away. And it's coming straight out of my own pocket, so it's going to be free to enter if we can pull it off. And I hope that if we get enough people to make it like a proper bracket, I'm looking for at least 16. That, you know, we can make that happen, and that maybe even we can get multiple restreams going on. The lovely people here at FFR will probably participate. I've already talked to Dark Moon. He expressed interest about helping us out with running a tournament, and if everything goes really well, if we get enough people, matches are hyped, things are going good, we will maybe even submit for the finals to be occurring at the Winter Marathon. Again, no guarantee that it gets in, of course, but that's a pretty good place to have it because I believe that's all still remote. So there'll be no requirements for anybody who can't make it out live or anything like that to, you know, have to do that. You'll be able to, you know, play from the comfort of your own home. And also, if we are able to put it all together, you can win some prizes. And if we have the finals at a marathon, you can help raise money for another great charity. I believe it's the Burn Children's Fund for the Winter Marathon. So, you know, if you're interested in that, be sure to check out Discord, or you can DM me directly on any of the platforms if you know where I'm at, and I will send you a link to the forum. It's really short, has a little description in it that I just mentioned, and a couple of questions. Basically, just like, you know, what would you be interested in seeing? You know, would you like to play? Can you stream your matches? Stuff like that. All right, so there's a little bit of use of that invert stuff. What's funny about some of the other shards as well that are not like the ones that have active hitboxes of like an independent thing, like those icicles, but things like the beam weapons, most directional shards, is when you're using a dimension shift, when you get hit, when you use invert or whatever, the beam will actually, hey, accelerator, didn't show that off. The beam will actually stay on the screen and continue to do damage and continue to drain MP from you. Sometimes this is bad when you don't have infinite MP, but sometimes it's exploitable, like it was there. And you can do more damage while you, you know, make yourself invincible if you are dimension shifting or inverting. So accelerator is the blue we want to find in every seed. I think it's obvious why. I don't have to explain it. We got to go fast, and it's really good with double jump and you know, high jump and stuff. You get, you know, really, really maximum movement potential. Unfortunately, the only bad thing about STS is we don't see a lot of the white shard locations unless things go wrong. So we have mediocre movement early. That's probably the only movement we're going to see. It's just The other white shards are so far out of the way. That boss in the underground lava area, he also has a lot of health. Alfred in the desert, a lot of health, a lot of bad boss patterns, difficult to defeat without a bunch of other stuff. So we typically just are not going to see those. But we can get lucky. There is a droppable item called the bovine plume, which is, could be again, shuffled anywhere on any enemy. But if we see that drop, there's a chance that that's going to help us craft a white shard into another white shard, and it does not consume the white shard we have. So we could get a cheeky movement upgrade that way. All right, and that's an accessory check and a weapon check. Just looking for maybe some nice, since we have accelerator, they're not that far out of the way. There's a couple other accessories we could potentially put really good work in with, like a skull necklace, which does, like, I think 1.5 times MP for 1.5 for double damage, which doesn't matter when we have infinite MP, which is, no drawback. Luck is always fine. Risk ring is a lot less risky when we have this. That's in a chest somewhere. And also, an enemy could drop a curse ring, which is pretty cool. We won't put it on now, but we will put it on for boss fights. Curse ring basically gives you awesome stats everywhere, except it gives you tanks your luck stat. So it's really great for bosses, but not what you want to add on when you're still farming for a shard. And basically, we're going this way because auto scroller boss also hides a key item chest, and this is probably the easiest check to do right now. We've got key items. Yeah, we've got key items, and you can do a weird, like, underflow, overflow HP of some of the bosses. So that's why sometimes we safety save before a boss that we should have no difficulty with. This boss, you can kind of like phase through the ceiling sometimes. You can underflow his HP, and then you can still kill him, but then you have to do whatever the maximum amount of numerical value is in damage. It's really easy to soft lock underflow the train boss. You can also do it with the Bloodless as well. But yeah, this part's pretty elementary. Auto scroller again, and I'm just trying to think of. I mean, I think we've covered everything and a half. So,
I guess one thing to mention regarding the tournament, if I don't think you plugged Jupiter Climb's channel, but he does have a playlist featuring, I want to say all the matches that happened last time.
Yeah,
so.
I believe every match, yes. I think everything that Bobby casted, he sent over, and I think they're all there. So if you want to check out the tournament playlist for 2023, see some great players, Axel included, myself on commentary, other great community members that you're probably familiar with. Jupiter, fantastic player of all Metroidvanias, basically. Our world record holder, Hapra, Bobby on commentary as well, many more, Fran, our queen, Yeehaw, who's commentating for me last weekend, many more participants. You can go to Jupiter Climb's YouTube channel and check that out. And for our tournament, if we can get it going, I would love to have it at as many locations as possible. So like I mentioned, I'd love to have multiple restreams, as much accessibility, visibility as we can get. Just want to get people playing the game. And compensate them for their time, of course, as well. So it always feels better, I think, losing to RNG when at least you had a chance to walk away with something, as opposed to just pride. So no pressure on anybody else to contribute. Like I said, if I didn't expect to handle it all myself on prize support, I wouldn't have offered. So, but we will definitely, if we can get it working, look into some other alternative sources, maybe like a Matcherino type of crowdfunding to have additional prizes. I've got all sorts of ideas that again, we want to hear from you guys. So on that form at the very bottom, there's an open-ended thing, like what do you want to see? Do you want to see random prizes for participants? Do you want to see like prize given out for highlight of the tournament? Like all sorts of cool stuff like that we could do, that we will consider doing. But we just want your feedback, and if we can only get 6 or 7 people to play, as much as I'd love to run that tournament, I just want to make sure there's enough players so that we get variety and we get new players involved and we get, interesting matchups that we haven't seen before. Not great crafting options here, but you typically don't get great crafting options in this set of flags. Sometimes you get lucky and Jeeble's glasses is craftable and you get a ring drop right away, or you get a buyable ring and shop. But, that's kind of the price you pay for having a lot less random and usually quicker seed here. And I gave you a really nice one that has like everything. You got damage, accelerator, glasses. Like, what more could you ask for?
Dimension shift.
Right. I don't know where it is.
Yes, you do. You gave me the seed.
No, I don't. Like I said, remember, Goldfish. I played the 3 STSs I have sitting here. I played through in practice. Me finding this is on YouTube, but I don't remember where it is. So it could be a Gremory and Vanilla. It could be on Carpenter. I have no clue. The good thing is with all the stuff we have, it's not going to take us too long to find it because nothing can really stop us with all this offense and all this speed. And I definitely didn't give you something that's not completable, so we're going to have access to all the areas where we would have purple drops. So we're going to find it eventually.
I'm going to do a crazy idea.
Yeah, and this is kind of the point where like you're really just guessing. You've got OSL open with invert, you've got the train open with the bromide, and you've got all of caverns open with invert as well, because again that allows us to swim. We also have aqua stream, which opens it up, but invert also opens the backdoor entrance from caverns into volcano, so you don't have to go in with the deep sinker / reflector ray into the front of what's it called, secret sorcery lab. There's 3 sorcery labs. Underground Sorcery Lab is the one on the right after the train, Secret is the one on the bottom left, and Oriental is the one at the top left. And now you know why I probably instinctively started calling them by Super Mario levels as well, because trying to remember which one is which, especially in the beginning, isn't great. All right. Again, skipping chests because we already know what's in those, and they're not going to help us. Just like a weapon and... Weapon, I think?
Yes. I remember. And a blue.
Yeah, there's a blue there too. Okay. Back in the den. There's some purples here. We have the Abyssal Guardian, who is normally a mini-boss. He becomes a regular enemy. He drops a purple at a slightly higher percentage. I think it's 5%, so a little, like 1% higher than average. 4% the average. Or the most frequent, I guess, average would be some kind of weird percentage number, but because we have some hundreds and all that. So he's over here. There's a couple different places to farm him in this area. We also have the casino boss. There's 2 casino bosses in this game. There's a straight-up slot machine, and then there's a guy who is made of money and steals all your money. We skipped him conveniently in the last run because we had Dimension Shift, and you can phase through his little wall at the bottom underneath him, but without it, you have to fight him. Pretty standard. He does a bunch of damaging attacks. He's got spikes on the ceiling. We had Aegis Plate. Which, do you have Aegis Plate? I don't remember.
I don't.
You don't, okay. You could just invert and stand on the ceiling and laugh, and a lot less of the stuff could hit you. But, you know, his most dangerous attack is a spinning pile driver grab that could definitely kill you if you don't heal in the middle of it. But after that, he just steals your cash and then regenerates health off of it. So if you come into this fight with like $3, he only gets like 3 HP back. And he also talks trash at you for being poor. So, nice little Easter egg as well. Yeah. When he puts his hands out wide to the side, that's when we gotta be careful. We either want to stun him or get out of the way. Okay, you can get crushed by these chips. But again, we have so much offense and infinite MP, pretty free here. Miriam showing off with the pose. You hold up, I believe. Yeah, she'll pose for you.
And that's what happens if you have no money.
Yep. If you have $0 exactly, he doesn't even regen HP and just dies. If you have any money, and you usually just have to hit him once and then he'll die again. One of the bosses that we haven't seen in either run, Bloodless, she's normally required in the base playthrough. They all are. Again, it's somewhat linear, but she has another regeneration mechanic just like that, where at the fight after she gets to a certain amount of HP, she will just use her Bloodsteal move, which is the shard you get from her. And it steals a bunch of blood from the background, and it regenerates her and you have to kill her again, basically. She has some extra upgraded attacks, so they do reuse that gimmick a little bit. Okay, this is, again, we know where all the teleporters are, so coming here gives us a chance to spike purple, get lucky. This guy, Demon Lord, has purple. And even if we want to abandon this and go somewhere else, it's still fine because we can just come back. Or even if we clear this area out and we don't find it, we've already done the run through. We can teleport back once we do find it. And we don't have to do this run a second time. Whereas Max Chaos would be gambling. You can absolutely get to... Oh, that's where Zangetsu Toe was.
So this would have been a soft lock without the safety.
Yep. So thankfully it spawned. I probably didn't check that when I played it. Although, what do we still... Let's see, OSL, there's 3 purples there. I haven't gone to Desert yet, so there's... did you go to Caverns?
No.
Okay, so there's Decima, Decabria... did you get Toad?
Yes.
Okay, so that's already gone. So there's 2 there, plus Amy in Desert and Volcano Mort. So there's 4 in that area, if you count it all as like one section. And then there's 3 purples on the train. So there's kind of no right answer here. Again, this is just a straight 33% gamble, basically, because we have a similar amount of shards in 3 different directions. And then there's 1 more in Garden, which is on Warhorse if we have the key, but if you don't have the key, we can't do that.
Right? Yes, I do.
Okay, so we have all the keys, so that means that, yeah, there's 3 in OSL, there's 1 more in Garden, and then there's 3 in this direction. And then there's a 4 total waiting for us below. And then there's also 1 more in the ice area where we just were. However, the Demon Lord that we were fighting, he also can spawn in the Carpenter room in OSL, so that technically could be 4 up there if you get lucky. But Gremory, the second to last boss that has Dimension Shift normally, she is 100% drop, but she's a pain to fight and further in. We can always go fight her at any time. Again, we have that teleport. So. Tons of secret locations here on the train. For Max Chaos, we didn't see it, but again, if you need any of the materials and stuff, you want to check out Max, you can always hit us up. I've even corrected that sheet with a couple things that were flipped. So unfortunately, we don't have a suplex to hit the train with here, and but we do have a flamethrower. So we've got Edgar's toolbox. We don't have 7 blitzes here. Very easy to soft lock this boss. If you go through that door without just regular walking, if you jump too high on the screen here, if you do too much damage from the other side of the screen, there's a bunch of ways to soft lock him. But sometimes you can still kill him because you just underflow his HP. And other times you can just, I don't know, get his HP value set to a weird number that doesn't work and you can't kill him at all. So, here's a purple drop with the assassin.
Very uncooperative assassin.
Yep. Yeah, unfortunate. Still making pretty good time though. I mean, we had upwards of an hour 15 to do this and still be under our total estimate for the time we had allotted, so. Nice, interesting use of Bone Shard, Bone Toss. Do you have Hellhound?
I don't.
No. I think what else goes vertical through the floor.
Oh, actually.
Oh yeah, Blast. Yep.
That's a one
And
shot,
one
so
hit.
perfect.
And it one hits. That's cool. Yeah. So again, with glasses. Oh, and that's go mode.
I was thinking about going through the rest, but nah.
Nah, yeah, we already have everything we need. So And we already have a teleport right to the end, so we're going to make short work, and we're going to get Sun back on the sleeping schedule, hopefully, a little bit quicker than average here, than time we had allotted.
Yeah,
So
I did put the estimate for about 2.5 hours. We're at about 2 hours right now, so...
Yeah. And here's the thing with vetted seeds, especially with max chaos seeds, depending on where stuff is and depending on bad luck with the the drop rates of enemies and their shards, sometimes you can have a seed that somebody takes an hour to beat and then it takes you 2.5. It can vary if you accidentally forget something or abandon something, or just have really bad luck and go to the wrong section of the castle, and leave the section with the dimension ship to the last thing you check. All sorts of stuff can go wrong. So we usually have higher estimates, and things can happen, and we can absolutely blow them out of the water. But this game is a little bit more of a slot machine than your average rando, so that's why we better safe than sorry it. And it's been great casting this for you guys tonight, and thanks for the bonus slot as well. It was really cool to run the game a bunch. I had a great time live. I can't wait to go next year. And like I said, if you're interested in playing the game, we've got a bunch of Discords to join. The one that'll be linked will be the Randomizer race one, but you can search on Discord for Bloodstained. You can find the official one, you can find the speedrun one, and several of the top runners also have Bloodstained channels in their Discords, so I encourage you to join those as well. We're all in those. Helping out as much as we can. We'll vet seeds if you want. I'm going to start compiling seeds for sure if we get good feedback on the tournament and have enough players interested. Okay, and while we're on the final boss, we can just talk a little bit more about it since we didn't see too much of it. We're not going to see too much of it here. The demon guy, he drops volcanoes. He has a big giant demon chainsaw that comes out of his mouth when he stops. The cat will fire Sonya blade rings at you, and then it fills the floor with lava, and you have these little crappy platforms to stand on if you don't have movement. They have terrible hitboxes. You'll fall through them all the time. And then it'll do a charge on my laser, fire a laser beam at you as its final attack. You can kind of negate that with invert. There's some other cool strategies you can do. When you invert, the gravity affects your stuff as well, so you can kind of invert and then still hit the thing that's below you by just aiming up and attacking, and it'll fall upwards because the natural gravity stays effective. Yeah, so we're gonna have time pretty soon here. There it is. Time. Probably sub 4. Yeah, sub 4. Nice, very nice. Bit of a jet, I must say, because I gave you one that had all the stuff early except for Dimension Shift, but could have easily been way longer if you go to OSL there, or you go to Desert and around the lava and avoid Train. You're just not going to find Dimension Shift. So, yeah,
just pick the right option.
That's going to be it for us. Axel, you want to throw any final thoughts out there before we get out of here?
Thanks everyone for watching. Thanks Final Fantasy Randomizer for having me. Even if it's a bonus run, I'm actually just glad to be able to participate and may actually submit this for future future Randomizer marathons.
Yeah, it's really nice to get you in as well. Being on the West Coast, it's a little bit harder to get out to that live event, so I'm really glad we were able to showcase one of our best players playing. And if you want to see more, again, you can join all the Discords. We've got YouTube channels, Twitch channels. You can follow us. I've got guides, all that kind of stuff. And we've got the tournament replay, like we mentioned. And we're always looking for new ideas. So if there's something that you want to learn, you can always hit us up. Whether it's clipping through floors or just where all the items are, we're always available. And we can't wait for the new game that's coming next year. So keep your eyes on that as well.
And here's hoping that one will have a randomizer too.
Yeah, I wouldn't say go and tweet art play every day, but if
you got the time,
yeah, let them know you want. So Sony seems to be funding a little bit more of this one as opposed to the last one, which was completely done on Kickstarter. So I think that they're going to try to keep people playing as much as possible, and they're probably going to try to have as much content in it as they can fit. So things are going to be positive from us for the foreseeable future. And again, that's why we want to try to get this tournament going. So I'm going to drop that in all the Discords. Please check that out if you can, or DM me if you need to, and I will send you a link over to that to fill it out. And GG's, everybody. great marathon, over 10K for charity, Liam Foundation. Super proud to be working with them. It's the only facility of its kind, I think, within a 60-minute drive of where it is. So it's really important. It's a smaller charity. The work you guys did all last week and this week was phenomenal. They really need the help right now with all that's going on in the world. So again, super proud of everybody, every single person from behind the scenes, all the runners, all the donators, all the people watching live and at home. The hotel who was so generous and graceful. And a great place to stay. Downtown West Virginia, Charleston, for being a nice place to be, and it was a great time. So everybody, it all couldn't have happened. We're all of us working together, and super proud of everyone again. Thanks so much for having us.
And thanks, Tony, for showing off the run during the marathon and joining me tonight.
My pleasure, as always. All right, guys. Son, do we have anything else, or are we getting out of here?
I think that's about it. Thanks again, both of you, for being here. I'm sure there's probably a lot more that can be said, but this has been fantastic. Like you said, almost, 10.5, just under 10.5 thousand. So everyone did real good. However, I am about to fall forward on my keyboard. So FFR, have a good night.